evening. I call this meeting to order at exactly 5:31. Today is Tuesday, August the 4th. Any public comments, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll continue. We'll go to agenda 2.1, review discussion of the San Benito CISD reopening plan in response to the COVID-19 for the 2020-2021 school year. Dr. Carmen?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, I'm going to ask that we let in several people we have in the waiting room, several of our administrators, so they can join us on screen.
Okay.
And it may take a moment.
Hello, Ms. Lopez.
Hello.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
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 Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Hello.
We're here.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
I think we have about 6 more. They're getting them in.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Everyone.
Hello.
I think we have about 6 more. They're getting them in.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Everyone.
Let me see. I'd like to address them all before we get started, please, with your permission.
Excuse me?
I would like to address all the administrative staff.
Oh,
with your
yes.
permission,
Go
please.
ahead. Thank you. Great.
Somebody's watching Facebook Live on the same machine that they're doing.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, all. I just our IT team and our KSBG team said that somebody's watching it live right now on Facebook, and somebody's watching it on their computer screen on Zoom at the same time. So that's the reason why we're getting a feedback and about a 2-second or up to a minute delay.
That's great.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds good now. So first of all, before we get started, it's great to see all these happy faces, and I want to congratulate you guys so much for getting prepared for another year. You know, I know there's been a lot of changes in this unprecedented time, you know, but I just want to thank you guys as the leaders of our district. I want to thank you guys so much for your efforts that you guys are putting in at this time. It's extremely stressful. Everybody knows it at the household as well as here at work, and I think and I know that our staff is doing a tremendous job in making sure that this whole process is seamless, but with the best in everybody's safety first and foremost, and as well as our kids' education. So I just want to thank you guys so very, very much that you guys are staying healthy, you guys are taking care of your families, most importantly, and we're excited to have everyone back. So I know before Ms. Janie, she was kind enough to let me speak, but I know this plan is a long, dreaded out plan, and I know a lot of time and effort went into it, and I just want to thank each and every one of you all so much for that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you all.
Continue.
Okay, well, this
should I
evening.
start? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. You ready? This evening, I will do an overview of our San Benito CSD reopening plan in response to COVID-19 for the 2021 school year. I did ask our administrators to join in this evening so that the board could see our task force that helped put this together. We included every principal, our head nurse, directors, and our assistant superintendents. Each of them was instrumental in putting this together, and it is quite a plan. It currently stands at 69 pages in length. You should have a copy of it in board docs. I am going to hit on some of the bigger things out of each section, and then we can answer any questions you might have. And then you'll have a week to review before we'll ask you all to take action on it. I'll start with section 1. And that addresses our safety of our students, staff, and visitors. We've established some phases and timelines that we believe will help in keeping our students and our staff safe. Currently, we are in the planning phase. We have been meeting for several weeks, going over this and taking the details, information, guidelines given to us by TEA, and then trying to make sense of them for San Benito CISD. Phase 1, which will kick off August 26th, that's our first day of school, through October 20th. And the timing there is pending the TEA waiver of 4 additional weeks. Could be longer, pending TEA and our local health department. During that phase, we will implement social distancing protocol and open our facilities with limited access and use by employees. And that's when we will initiate our remote instruction for students. After 8 weeks, unless there are any changes, October 21st, we would begin to expand the use of our schools per recommendations and data from CDC, Texas Education Agency, Texas Governor, and applicable state and local agencies. At that point in time, phase 2, we would provide live instruction as an option. Ultimately, where we all want to be at some point when it's safe, phase 3, that date is to be determined. At that point, we would open schools fully, expand full operations, again, based on recommendations and data from same entities, may determine some guidelines or restrictions that would have to remain in place. Within our plan, we have provided procedures and protocols for visitors. We will be limiting who can come to our buildings to try to keep a safe environment. We have travel restrictions on our staff for work-related trips. We have student procedures and protocols, everything from what they must do each day before entering the building to if they take a trip out of the area. Included in that are if they become positive, COVID positive, or if they start to exhibit symptoms, or if they come into close contact with an individual who is positive. And we have all of this very well delineated on what the steps are before they can return into the school building. Following the student procedures and protocols, we have our travel disclosure form for them, but then we enter into our employee procedures and protocols. And again, we outline what is required of each of our employees. They must self-check every day, and we will check it off at the campus level regarding whether or not they have experienced any type of symptoms or come in close contact with anyone who is COVID-19 positive. We have travel forms for them. We have other forms for them. And then we have all of the safety guidelines that they must adhere to, again, if they come into contact with someone who is positive, close contact, if they are experiencing symptoms or if they have tested positive. All of this has been guided by CDC, Texas Education Agency, and of course the Office of the Governor. I think it's pretty well spelled out in here. There's quite a lot in here, including the symptoms of COVID to be looking for. We talk about testing for our employees. We have travel reporting forms for our employees. We think it's pretty thorough. and I look forward to the board having a chance to look through it. Then we'll go into section 2. Before I do that, we have guidelines for masks, facial coverings. We have guidelines for personal workspaces or classrooms versus shared workspaces. We have guidelines for cleaning our facilities. We have guidelines for transportation. We have guidelines for bring our meals. I'll elaborate a little bit on that right now. Our plan for meal distribution is to open up curbside meal pickup at each of our campuses once daily, providing a hot meal and one ready-to-heat meal. So those families that want to get their meals ready for their kids that are hot and ready to go can come get those. We'll also provide drop-off on our bus routes with ready-to-heat meals that won't be hot while we're taking them on those routes. But parents will have an option. We will be providing meals daily for our kids. I'll move forward on to section 2 on curriculum and instruction. Our plan is to provide an asynchronous instruction, remote instruction. I think I've touched on this with the board a little bit. Our administrators may be tired of hearing about it, but in a nutshell, what it means is that our teachers don't have to provide 100% live instruction to our students. In our plan, we do have minutes per day that we want our teachers to be reaching out live for their students, but that's not the only way they'll be reaching out. They'll be posting their videos of their lessons, the assignments. We have learning management systems for each grade level that we'll be using to disseminate the work and then to collect it back. It allows a little more flexibility than if we tried to do synchronous instruction. At some point, we will provide face-to-face instruction in adherence to CDC guidelines. We cover that here about students wearing a mask or face covering unless they're eating or speaking, and maintaining social distance of 6 feet or more while seated at their assigned partitioned desk. The board did approve those partitions. They have been ordered and have been shipped for us. Outlining here all of the instructional materials and e-learning platforms that we'll be using. We talk about the learning management systems for pre-K through first grade, ClassDojo or Google Classroom. Second grade through 8th grade, we'll be using Google Classroom. 9 through 12, we'll start with Google Classroom with the plan to transition to Blackboard Learn. We talk about the technology. With our recent order, we should have hotspots available for every family who needs internet access. And we should be at or above the number needed for Chromebooks and laptops for each of our kids. We outlined the minutes of instruction. We outlined the live minutes that we're requiring. We outlined the assessment here in this plan. We address our special populations, special education, 504, bilingual, migrant, GT. And then we talk a little bit about the grading and attendance. They will be a little bit different for asynchronous. There are 3 ways we can claim attendance for a student. One is if they participate in and complete work assignments via the grade level identified learning platform. Second method is if they interact with the teacher virtually, so if they get on those live sessions. And the third way, if they complete and submit their assignments via email, take a photo and submit it, phone conference, or other form of documentation. We do provide a small section here on counseling and providing social emotional support. We talk about professional development for our teachers. Our after school program, we've included that in here with some dates. Talk about the possibility of packets if that becomes a need. Move on to section 3, which is on our sports and our extracurricular planning. Like all of these sections, this has been a development section based on what the UIL has been putting out. Our district executive committee will be meeting and will come up with some dates that will probably be a little more restrictive than what UIL is proposing out there. But right now, the UIL information is in there. Our district information, athletic district information, will be filled in as it becomes available. And then we end this document with our communication plan. And in that section, we include all of our communication methods, the platforms that we use. We identify, of course, where the reopening plan will be located. I want our community and our parents to be aware of how we'll be communicating to them during this process. So that's a bird's eye view of a 69-page document. I realize board members have been getting this updated in board docs. Every time there's a change, we change it and resubmit it. So I would encourage each of you to take the week to read through it and ask questions as they come up. If any of you have questions at this point, we would be happy to try and answer them for you.
Hey, Doc. Real quick, I'd just like to go through it and then maybe bring you a question. I don't want to just jump here. We're never going to finish, but I like to take the time and go through it. And if I have a question, I'll write it down and ask you. Okay? Next meeting.
Yes, sir. I'll be available as always.
Hey, Doc, I just want to thank you once again for the presentation. I know it's short and to the point. I guess one of the things that we need to keep in mind here is, of course, and I know you guys have done a tremendous job doing that, is of course the safety of all, and I'm a major component of that. I'm not too sure. I know we need to go back and review it. I think one of the concerns that I have, and maybe something to talk about at a later time, but it's amount of time that the staff spend at the campuses, whether they're here alone or they're not. My concern is, of course, is a cleanliness of the whole the buildings and so on and so forth, especially with this pandemic and not going anywhere anytime soon. So I guess my question is, the thought process is to come up with a plan, or maybe you have, is come up with a plan as far as, I know the principals. I'm not sure, Doctor, they're gonna have to be here 3 days a week, all week, the concerts, so on and so forth. So I'm just that's all the little bits and pieces that I want to, really look into and make sure that we can do as much as we can remotely. But of course, I'm not an educator and I'm not going to pretend to be, but I think my main concern here is the safety of all. So I'm not too I'm more sure these conversations already have come about in the planning of all this. So that was one of my major concerns is of course the amount of the amount of time or that the staff have to spend in the campus, as far as their principals, counselors, and so on and so forth. But anyway, Doc, I want to thank you all. And once again, I want to thank everybody for developing this plan. But those are the things that, as far as, I know some of our board members have discussed it. I think that's one of the things that we're looking into. So we do have everybody's best interest at stake. So I just want each and every one of you all to know that, and I want to share that with you. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And in the plan, indeed, we do have it broken out on who we think can be remote and who we think needs to be on campus. Again, every administrator here had the opportunity to provide input. I won't say that everything was 100% agreed on, but every for input in making these recommendations to the board. And again, we are focusing on safety of our staff and our students while trying to provide a quality education for our students.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Carmen.
Yes, ma'am.
No questions? Is that it? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're now going to go to 2.2. Reviewed discussions of the affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and Golden Palms Retirement and Health Center for 2020-2021 school year. I think this is for Ms. Alvarado, or yes?
Ms. Silva, we do want to make 2.1 the reopening plan an agenda item, please.
Oh, pardon. Yes, agenda item. Thank you.
Agenda item.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Ms.
Okie
Lopez,
dokie.
okay, I'm here. On the 2.2 is our agreement with Golden Palms Retirement. That is for our the practicum as part of our nurses aid program. At this time, we want to keep the MOU. At this time, we will not be sending our students there. I don't think they would even be receiving our students, but we want to continue having the MOU with them and keep that MOU active.
That's great, Ms. Alvarado. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item? Okay.
Agenda item.
Agenda item 2.3, review discussion of the affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and the Treasure Hills Healthcare and Rehabilitation Center for 2020-2021 school year. Ms. Alvarado?
Yes, this is the same type of MOU. Again, this is
Yes.
for our students that are in the CNA Nurses Aid program. Again, we will want to keep the MOU active. At this time, we will not be sending students until it's safe.
Agenda item? Okay, the same thing goes for 2.4, review and discussion of the affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and Retama Manor Nursing Center for 2020-2021 school year. Same thing? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's the same thing.
Agenda item? Okay, and then we're review and discussion of the affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and the Veranda Rehabilitation and Healthcare for 2020-21 school year. Same thing, Ms. Alvarado? Yes?
That's correct, Ms. Tejeda.
Agenda, okay. Agenda item 2.6, review discussion of the elementary grading policy for the 2020-2021 school year. Ms. Cruz, Dr. Cruz, is that you?
No, that would be me, ma'am.
Me, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's no problem. So in the elementary grading policy, there's just a few changes that I'll just
Yes.
highlight those changes. We're gonna require a minimum of 1 numerical grade per week per content area, which is the reading, mathematics, the language arts, the social studies, and the science. And that'll be in there for the 2020-2021 school year, the entire year, because we do know that we may bring some students back depending on when that is safe, but some students will still remain remote. So we want to keep that for the entire year. So that's 1 numerical grade per week per content area.
Great.
Thank
you.
There's a couple of more,
Okay.
so I'll touch up on a couple
Go
of
ahead.
more. The promotion and retention process for the elementary, we did change this at students not making progress, not completing academic packets, or opting not to participate during the closure will be eligible for summer school. For promotion to the next grade level, students will need to have completed the requirements outlined in this grading policy. A grading policy committee, which is known as the GPC, will be formed for any student at risk for being retained. So there's two, under this we have 2 bullets. The student's teacher submits documentation to the principal that the retention of the student is appropriate and that is based on the student's academic record. And the second one is the principal reviews the documentation with the GPC, then decides if the student should be promoted or retained. So we'll be using, that's the changes in the elementary grading policy, or the updates.
Okay. Agenda item. And then we go to 2.7, review discussion of the secondary grading policy for 2020-2021.
Yes, ma'am. We just have a few updates, a few changes on the weighting. This change for middle school is to match our high school weighting, which is the weight grades, which is 60% for daily quizzes, daily work, participation, note-taking, and homework, and 40% for major weekly tests, unit tests, skill tests, and special assignments or projects. So we're just matching what the high school, the middle schools, what the high schools are doing. In pre-AP, course title just changed to honors. Instead of pre-AP, we're using the word honors. And again, the grades taken is 1 grade per week per each course, the same as the elementary. And we just have the list for the advanced courses was updated, but no major changes on that, just updated list.
Thank you, ma'am. Agenda item. Okie dokie. 3.1, committee concerns.
Oh, I have a concern, but I don't know if I can bring it up on this one or not. Dr. Carmen, will you let me know if I can?
Sure.
Okay.
What's the topic?
Okay, well, actually, it's a concern on the registration for the kids coming back to, well, I say Miller Jordan because I was at Miller Jordan, but say at Miller Jordan, the registration that they need to do is online, on the phone, well, on the computer, all right? But what if a parent has 3 kids coming back in and they have to go through 15 pages of forms to fill out over and over and over again? Is there any way that they can have this paperwork done already for them and then just sign it or whatever online or whatever? Or do they have to fill out all registration forms online?
So I don't know how much of that information can be pre-populated if they're a returning student, but I would have to think since Skyward has that information, a lot of it could be pre-filled. Yeah.
Who does Skyward?
Skyward, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so who would I talk to regarding to Skyward?
I will ask Mr. Martinez
Okay,
to get us an answer to that. But
Okay.
but I have to believe since if they were here this past year, 1920, that we should have their information unless they moved.
exactly.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. The information has not changed at all whatsoever, and all they have to do is just say yes, or you know how you can sign your online now, you can sign it or
Yes,
no
ma'am.
or whatever. But to have to fill out, the parents have to fill out this paperwork, 3 times,
Mhm.
15 pages. That's a little ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, that's the way I
Wouldn't this just be for the newcomers, the new kids?
Yes, the newcomers I can understand, Silva. I can
Or
understand
the ones
newcomers.
coming in? Yeah.
Yeah, but like Dr. Carmen said,
Right.
what about our kids that are in our district already and are coming back in elementary? And their parents have kids and, little kids in first, second, third, whatever. What about those kids, that they have to fill them out, they have to fill out all this paperwork? It's redundant. So.
They should not have to. So let me get
Okay.
a good answer for you from Mr. Martinez, and
Okay.
I will share that with you when I get it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
Carmen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's it. So no more concerns? Okay, we adjourn at 5:57.